In woodworking, running in circles isn't always a bad thing. Today we're talking circles. Why do you need to make a circle? Well, if you're making speaker boxes or clocks or even a cornhole game, you need to be able to cut or route accurate circles. And if you're just doing one circle, it's easy enough to make a shop-made jig just using a piece of hardboard or plywood. But if you're doing circles of various sizes, it really helps to have a dedicated jig. And one jig I really like is this one from Jasper. It allows you to cut circles of just about any size from around 2 inches all the way up to 18 inches in 1/16 inch increments. The package includes the jig, which is made out of acrylic and it's CNC machined, so it's highly accurate. It also comes with an assortment of screws so that you can attach it to just about any plunge router that's on the market today. It comes with a centering pin to help you locate the jig as you mount it to your router, and then a couple of pivot pins that you'll use when you're actually routing the circles. Now this jig will work, like I said, with just about any plunge router or even fixed base router that's on the market, and it's very easy to set up. So let me show you how that's done. I've already removed the screws from the base plate, so I'm just going to take that base plate off and set it aside for now. And I've installed the centering pin in a 1/4 inch collet. And what that does is helps you to align the jig. So just going to slip that jig over the centering pin. And you'll notice that there's a series of pre-drilled holes here for various models of routers. The instructions tell you which set of holes to use for your particular router. And I know in my case, I need to use this top hole here. So I'm going to go ahead and just position that over the screw hole in the base, and then go ahead and attach the jig with the provided screws. The jig comes with several different screws for various routers. So go ahead and get those threaded into the holes. Now when you're tightening these screws down, you don't want to over tighten them, because if you do that, you risk cracking the jig. So just tighten them snug, but not over tight. And once you have the jig mounted to your router, go ahead and pop out that centering disc in the middle. That just pops out. Set that aside and save it. And then you can go ahead and take out that centering pin and replace it with your router bit. This jig is designed to work with a 1/4 inch straight bit. So in my case, I'm going to use a spiral upcut bit. Now that I've got the router bit installed, the next step is to figure out which of these 256 holes you need to use as your pivot hole. So if you look along the bottom, you'll see a row of numbers that correspond to inches. And then along the side, there's another row of numbers that correspond to 1/16 of an inch. In this case, I want to make a hole that's 8 1/4 inches. So I'll just follow along to 8 here and then move up to 1/4 inch. And that will be this hole right here. I'll slip the pivot pin into that hole. And now we're ready to move on to our workpiece. I've drilled an 1/8 inch diameter hole in the center of the workpiece, and that's going to be for the pivot pin of the jig. And on the back side, I placed a couple of strips of double-sided tape. And I'll use those to stick the workpiece down to a backer board. In this case, it's just a piece of 3/4 inch MDF. And that serves two purposes. First, when you're routing your circle, you don't want to route into your workbench, so that prevents that from happening. Second, the tape will stick this workpiece down to that backer board, so as you cut that circle out, it doesn't go flying when you cut it free. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down, and then we'll cut a circle. Now I'm just going to flip this router over and insert that pin into the hole in the workpiece. And you want to make sure it's seated, so I'm just going to tap it in with a rubber mallet here. I've set the depth of cut on my router for 1/4 inch. This is a 3/4 inch thick piece of plywood, but I'm going to cut that circle in 3 different passes. So the first pass is just going to be 1/4 inch deep. All right, let's see where we're at. Just take that pin out. Beautiful. Now we can just take that disc out and we'll just check it to make sure the diameter's right. We were looking for 8 1/4 and we're right on the money. Perfect. Now this jig is set up to cut holes, but you can also use it to make discs. You just have to remember to take into account the diameter of the router bit. So in this case, you'd have to add 1/2 inch to that overall diameter. So there you have it. To order the Jasper Circle Guide, just click on the link in the description below. And to receive more information on new tools, tips, and techniques, be sure to sign up for our e-notes by going to thewoodsmithstore.com. And just so you don't miss anything, be sure to click on the button below to subscribe to our Woodsmith Store YouTube channel.